Students, today we will start chapter Introduction to XML. So what is XML? XML stands for Extensible Markup Language. It is a simple and flexible markup language. It consists of data in text format enclosed within self-defined tags. The tags are given by the user and are user-friendly and make the information easily understandable to a user. So XML is a extensible markup language. So markup means it's a tag-based language, like HTML we learned before. So HTML is also a markup language, tag-based language. Like that, XML is also a markup language. So it has tags, but the difference is that XML uses user-defined tags. Tags are defined by the user. There's no inbuilt predefined tags in XML. And again, this language is the full form is called extensible markup language. So extensible means extendable. That means user can create, customize more tags he wants. He can create as per his needs. So it is called, that's why it is called extensible markup language, and it is tag-based language, and it is extended. It can be extended. Next we'll learn, we'll see the differences. What is the difference between these two markup languages, the XML and HTML? So HTML was designed to display data. XML was designed to store, carry, and exchange data. Both these languages are used for different purposes. So HTML was actually it can display data. It is used to design the web page. Only for that purpose it is used. But XML is used to store. It can store data, carry and exchange data. These are the two differences how it uses the data. Next, in HTML, the static text content is placed between the tags and is never modified by any process. On the other hand, in XML, data is stored in a separate XML file and can be updated with a few lines of JavaScript. That means HTML, the content is static and it is not modified by any other process. But in XML, data is stored in separate file and it can be modified. It can be updated with the help of other process, like with the help of JavaScript, XML data can be updated. Next, in HTML, data is part of the HTML document. It is not stored separately and therefore such sharing of data is not possible. But as XML data is stored in plain text format, it can be exchanged between incompatible systems and can be read by many different applications. So in HTML, there is no actually sharing of data is not possible. So those data are not shared. But in XML, the data are stored in plain text format and the data are exchanged, shared or exchanged between different applications and between incompatible systems. It is machine independent. Next, in HTML, a document structure is not present. But the XML document structure is like a tree. It has a root element, which is the parent of all other elements. An element can have sub-elements or child elements. A typical document structure format is like this given in the next slide. So in this point, we have got that in HTML, there's no such a document structure is not present in HTML. HTML document, there is not a specific structure in the document. But in XML, while creating the XML document, actually structure is called tree structure. So that means in this tree structure, there should be a root element. There should be a main element that is called root element, and which is the parent of all other elements. Again, an element also can have sub-elements or child elements. So parent will have elements and each of the elements also can have elements. and these elements are called childs. Childs, then again, if childs have elements, then subchilds like that. So it forms a tree-like structure. So XML structure is like you see the root element is the main element, parent element. Inside the parent element, there are child elements. Child elements, again inside child elements, there are subchild elements. This way, it creates a tree-like structure. Next point, in HTML, tags are predefined, but in XML, tags are user-defined. That means in HTML, we learned there, whatever tags we have to use for making the HTML document, all the tags are predefined, inbuilt tags, and those specific tags only we can use. But in XML, this is also a tag-based language, but the tags will be, here tags are user-defined. User can define whatever the user wants to use. The user will form the tags himself. So in XML, tags are user-defined tags. Next point, in HTML, tags are paired, but in some cases, the pairing is optional. That is, only the opening tag is required. For example, p tag. So in HTML, while using the tags, actually tags are paired. Paired means opening and closing combinedly used. Opening tag should be used with closing tag. But sometimes we see in some cases, with the help of only the opening tag, if we use, then also we get the output. But in XML, we must do it. If you have an opening tag, this opening tag must have a closing tag. Okay, this is the difference. In HTML, without the closing tag also, only the opening tag can work. But in XML, we must use both the tags together. And next point is, in HTML, there are empty tags. For example, line break tag. But in XML, to satisfy the requirement for a pair of tags, the opening and closing tags are combined. The equivalent code in XML will be br or br/br. So in the next point, what we have got, that in HTML, there are two types of tags, container tag and empty tags. The empty tags have always opening tag. They don't have the closing tag. But in XML, empty tags also should have the closing tag, both. In empty tag also, you have to use both opening and closing. Or it can be used like in example just given, br should be br opening tag and /br. Both should be used. It is empty tag and both are used. Both should be used. Opening and should be there, and closing should be there in opening empty tags. Or either you can use this way or you can this way. Br then /. This is called empty text. This way we have to write the empty text in XML. Next point, in HTML, tags may appear without satisfying the rules of proper nesting. For example, bi/b/i. But in XML, closing tag must match the last used opening tag. That is, it should be properly nested. For example, bi, then /i/b. So what we have got, that HTML, without proper nesting, HTML tag works. But in XML, nesting should be proper. That means the inside tag should be inside. Outside tag should be outside. So here this example given, that i/i. It is inside. It should be inside this b/b tag. We cannot use bi/i. If we use this way, if you don't maintain any order, then it will not work in XML, but it will work in HTML. Without proper nesting, HTML tags work, but in XML, we must properly nest the tags. Next point, in HTML, tags names are not case sensitive. For example, b opening /b, it is lowercase, uppercase. But here in XML, tags names are case sensitive. For example, message is a tag opening and message. These two cases are same, lowercase, lowercase. So what I've got here, it is not case sensitive. That means opening tag, closing tag, cases say in opening tag it is lowercase, it is uppercase. So there's no difference. Both are it seems to be equal. Okay, this way also HTML tag works, but in XML it is all the tags names are case sensitive. That means opening tag, if you use uppercase, the closing tag also should be uppercase. If lowercase, mixed case, then mixed case. So like that, we have to use the XML tags. Next point, in HTML, tags have their specific attribute. For example, body is equal to rate. In XML, all elements, even the empty elements, can have associated attributes which specify their characteristics, such as size, color, dimension. For example, text, font, 12 point, like that. So what I have got in HTML, like there are inbuilt tags. The inbuilt tags have also specific attributes. Those are also inbuilt. But in XML, for all elements, we can use attributes, which will specify their size, color, dimension, whatever is to be specified. We can use with every element attributes in case of XML. Next, in HTML, the attribute value can be written without quotes, with double quotes, or only with single quotes. For example, font color equals to rate. So and in XML, the attribute value should be surrounded by double quotes only. Text font in double quotes 12 point. So what I've got that in HTML, while using the attribute for it tag, so we should give the value, and values we can, in giving values, we can use the value without quotes, or with double quotes, or with single quotes. If we use, it works. But in XML, while using attribute values, we must put the values inside double quotes. We must put. We cannot, it will not work like in HTML without quotes, with single quotes. If we put the value, it will not work. So we got, these are the differences between HTML and XML. Next, last is naming rules of XML elements. So we have got the differences between XML element and HTML elements, and we have got that XML elements are user defined. There is no inbuilt elements in XML. But when the user will make the elements, but he should follow some rules. There are still some rules, like names can contain letters, numbers, and other characters. So in an XML elements, the elements contains letters, numbers, and other characters. It will contain. Next, names cannot start with a number or punctuation character. So XML elements, we cannot start with a number or punctuation character. Next, names cannot start with the letters. XML lowercase, XML uppercase, XML mixed case. This way, with these we cannot start a element name in XML. Next, names cannot contain spaces. So while making the names, we cannot put space between the characters. Between characters, we cannot put space. Spaces are not allowed in XML elements. So these 4 rules we must follow while creating the elements in XML. So these are all about basics of XML. And next class, we'll learn about how to create document in XML. Thank you.